after it, right?
I mean,
Like, give me a break.
I mean,
4 sets of speakers, 3 microphones. I mean,
exactly. And then I get confused in my head.
the idea of the foundation is that it pursues the ideals of Andrea, the virtue of Andrea, to do the
Mm,
right thing at the
mm,
right time for the right reasons, and
mm,
then explains why those virtues are super important in all these different settings in your life, in personal life, in your family life, in your business life, in community life and politics. Why is the virtue of doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons so hard and yet so important? And if we
and
can,
and I think, yeah, it is important. And it's important that you explain this because this is a really nice story why you chose the name. I didn't know that. I mean, you explained it to me at some stage, but I didn't. It's not obvious. So, and
no,
people
it's not obvious,
obvious.
and yet the real value in the company, in my view, is the brand. We
Mm,
own the trademark. If people
mm,
can understand what it is to wear Andrea as a brand,
mm.
that I have the courage.
Yeah.
That's me. That's I'm standing up for that. We're that brand. And where we make some money out of this is that we're the suppliers to the Andrea Foundation and managers of the Andrea Foundation. We get paid for doing that because that's what happens. That's
Mm.
what happens in so many not-for-profits around the place. That's just what happens. We're not looking, neither Tanya or I are looking to get rich out of it.
Mm.
But if we go this way, then we get the principles across.
Mm.
And that becomes a life mission to get
Mm.
those principles across and how they affect all these different situations.
I love
Um,
that. I love
yeah.
that. And also I love that you use the word principles. I don't actually hear that a lot anymore. And it makes you wonder when you kind of look around, do people still have principles? Do they still feel a sense of honor and respecting others? And there's so much sort of emotional behavior out there where you think, people not standing their ground, people maybe don't have or are not clear on their principles. Maybe they have principles, but they're not clear on them. And I think it needs to be really, really clear. That's actually really well said. And
Well, thank you, because that's the idea, is to pursue the importance of ethics.
mm,
Because in a world where, and this is the exposure to AI really made me understand this virtual world, we're being listened to in virtual now, and we're doing it for the sake of engagement, shall we say. Let's bring that word into the discussion. But
yeah, we can talk about
um,
it.
but it's very hard to build the level of trust online with people you've never ever met.
Mm,
And so it's super important, in my view, that you take on a code of ethics and be clear in your purposes and where you're at. That is, then there is some hope of building some degree of trust if you are consistent in that situation. Now, does that mean that I will get it right all the time? No, I am a human being. Have I always got it right? Most definitely not. And there'll be a trail of people willing to tell you all about it, and starting with my kids, all the things that I get wrong. But
yeah,
what's the
don't ask
point?
your kids. Don't ask your kids. That's a no.
Don't
No,
ask the kids,
kids
no.
like, don't do that.
But I probably get better reviews from my stepkids. I've been a better father than I was to me. But that's experience, right? But what I'm trying to get to here is this issue of trust. And I'm talking about it in context of this podcast and what we're doing, and saying, look, please trust us. We know what we're doing. If we stick clearly to a story that is ethically correct, and we do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons, and we provide this information for people to use, then there's the chance that they will trust us. Let's take that down into the workplace now and
Yeah,
ask
I think
ourselves this question: what is the role of trust in engagement? And it's huge.
Yeah, actually, we did want to talk about engagement, but I think the topic of trust is also very important, and it builds a foundation for engagement. If you cannot trust the company, or you cannot trust the brand, or you cannot trust the manager, or you cannot trust your team or someone in the team, your level of engagement will go down. It's a natural sort of reaction of us humans. We'll just pull back. We do need to have a foundation of trust, and that is something that needs to be earned. Like when you start a new job in a company, it's not, oh, I've done all these things, I have these accolades in my resume. That doesn't mean that people in the company instantly trust you. You still have to earn the trust. Obviously, the people who fired you, they trusted you, and so you've been through some sort of screening process. But still, you gotta prove yourself and build the trust. And with building the trust, you also build, engagement. People become engaged in you when they trust you. They want to work with you because they can see, oh, your words, they get what they see, these type of things, and it makes engagement flow across the trust. I've just made that up. Engagement flow across the trust. Trust is a bridge.
Well, yeah, trust is a bridge. Yes, that's trust is a bridge. And when you look at the recruitment process, so firstly, you've applied for a job. And so obviously you have some trust in the information that's being provided to you by the company. Maybe you know about the company, and certainly if you get to the job interview stage, you will have searched the company and found out about where they're at and what they believe in, what they say they believe in. And that's one story. Then you get into the situation where you have interviews and you build trust between yourself and the persons that are interviewing you, and you get into a deeper understanding of what it is they want you to achieve and what role you'll play in the company, and you start buying more and more into them. So this relationship is starting to happen. Then you get into the company. Now, this is where the inconsistency starts showing up. Oh, they say this and then act like that. And action speaks so much louder than words. You get on there on the first day and you say, wow, this is a great company. You're talking to some other manager or colleague and go, I'm so happy to be here. And they just say, you just wait. You just wait. Oh, okay. First stage of disengagement. And because humans are fear driven, I think we're something like 80% more likely to react or remember a bad thing than we are a good thing.
It helps us to survive in the wilderness.
Yeah, so the walls come up, boom, bang, just like that. It's like, now the trust is out there.
Yeah.
Now, Gallup tell us that an engaged employee is 3.5 times more productive than a disengaged employee.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely huge. And in reality, they don't expend any more energy because it's quite exhausting being disengaged.
It is. It is. See, look at us. We are very engaged in this podcast. I think I'm just sitting here and talking. I mean, obviously there's some preparation work and things that need to happen. And but still, I'm fully engaged. I love it. It's great. It doesn't appear to cost me any energy. As a matter of fact, after the podcast, when we're finished, I feel energized.
Because we've gone into flow.
Yeah, like that's right. And
then Sent me high. His definition of flow. It's not easy.
And also, I wanted to pick up like what you said earlier around when an employee starting a new job in a company, and then they get introduced to all these stories. And I remember this, see this person over there, they're like this, and this team over there, they don't talk to us because blah, blah. And here's the thing. there's probably a drop of truth in it, but don't make it a bucket and don't buy into it. It's like,
Yeah.
don't make it, and you have an opportunity as a new employee. You have a beautiful opportunity because you start from a blank canvas to restore these relationships that are seemingly broken. You can just go over there and book a half an hour meeting with a person, introduce yourself, share what you're doing, ask them how you can help them. And I've done this, and and actually establish a relationship and then deliver. So I used to go and talk to departmental managers when I was a project or program manager, and I said, this is me now, I'm working here, this is the team I have, this is what we're doing, how can I help you? And then I actually did this. You have to follow up. This is how you build trust. And then you will be surprised, all of a sudden this other team that seemingly works somewhere in a corner and doesn't talk to you starts talking to you because they see that things are working, they see, oh, there's actually someone who is interested, and maybe we can collaborate more and become more efficient, and hence the engagement goes up, and hence things become just much more enjoyable, fun, passionate, engaged, excited.
So what you've done there is you're given a perfect example of leadership from an individual's point of view. So you've gone to the other group, the outer group, and established a relationship with them with whom you have no authority. It's simply you want to work with them as a separate team. It's not as if you can, like, to some degree, one can command respect from the people who answer to you simply because they answer to you and you hold their paycheck in your hand, in short. But that's not a great way to lead. I'm just being saying, I'm being very base here. But when you go to the other side there, when you're talking to somebody who perhaps doesn't like your group or is a story going on there with what's gone in the past, and you say, now, Hal, this is me now, fresh start. Let's talk about how we work together,
Yeah.
how I can be of service to you, which means you're now being out there and you're being vulnerable. But then you also have to be authentic because you have to mean it.
Yeah, you have to mean
Right?
it. You don't
You
just
have
come
to
in
mean it, and then you have to be responsible because you have to deliver.
That's right.
And so all
That's
these
right.
things are part of engaging this group. And now it's also the same when you're being this way with an employee, any employee. How can I be of service to you? The leader is there to serve their employees, not the other way around.
Oh, right. Oh, thank you for pointing it out to me. No, I do agree. And engagement goes both ways. I mean, sometimes I find people can expect a certain level. They expect a certain level of respect or engagement. Why does the company not do this? Why am I not respected? We spoke about it. Respect needs to be earned. And you could be the highest performing person, but if you're new in a job and people don't know you, you have to establish respect. And also, if you want to work in an engaging environment, you also need to bring your engagement to the table. You can't just expect it's being delivered to you and then you become engaged. It's not how it works. And the
But
thing,
it does come from the top, though, Jack, right?
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
the person that is actually the CEO or senior executive on site or whoever is there, and if it's the shop owner and then there's the shop workers that are there, it's the shop owner that has to be vulnerable first. They need that staff as much as the staff need that job. And the other ones
that's
who've got to
right.
go out there and be vulnerable towards
Yeah,
the staff and say, hey, look, we really need your help. My intent is to fully reward you for it. But one of many businesses don't really understand that this issue of engagement, it shows up in your numbers. it'll show up in your bottom line because it'll show up in the obvious ones, which are like absenteeism will go up if people are disengaged. Presenteeism, i.e. productivity as measured of labor hours versus output, will go down.
Mm.
The customer feedback will show up as being poor because people are not engaged. I mean, I remember at one stage when Qantas were casualizing their staff, I literally talked to their steward. So what's going on? How comes all the rubbish? This is how they're treating us. You don't want disengaged employees talking to your customers because trust me, they're not doing you any favors. So then you end up with losing accounts. So your turnover goes down. Quality control is another massive issue. As soon as you get engaged employees, your quality levels go through the roof because they care.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
and you're not
comes.
doing rework. And as soon as you're not doing rework, you're starting to make a lot more money. This is what sounds all very simple stuff, but these are really, really important. But the two biggies in my book, in terms of disengagement, is disengagement kills innovation. If they don't care, they're not going to think about what this process is or less about how it could be better. How could the product be better? It kills it stone dead. Why would I contribute? I can just sit on the side here, do my job and get paid and walk away. Now, innovation is the lifeblood of a business going forward. So without that happening, without your highly skilled, highly intelligent, highly knowledgeable staff, the people that actually know what you do at any one step, if they're not engaged and not innovating, then you've got a serious problem if it's all on your shoulders.
Absolutely.
And
And
that goes to the last one, which is
oh yeah,
teamwork.
yeah, yeah,
The last one is teamwork because you'll end up with isolated cells. Communication will be rubbish. It's a living, breathing disaster, and it's a huge issue. And don't even get me started on burnout because that's massive as well. But anyway, these are the issues that I see that, and it's true that as if you're at the bottom of the pecking order, you're a functionary that does their job. Maybe you're you're in the accounts department. Maybe you're a salesperson. Maybe you're on the production floor, and you can say, well, how do I influence my engagement levels and others around? Well, Jacqueline just gave you an example. Be kind, reach out, talk to one another, engage with the people that are, be a leader, and don't be a complainer. Okay, the things may not be perfect, and maybe that means that you're one of the staff that's going to leave because again, disengagement leads to your best staff leaving.
yeah.
But
And
you can only put in
that's
what you
right.
can do, but you must put in what you can do.
Yeah. And also you want to avoid, like when you start talking about this, as you mentioned, you don't want to be a complainer. You want to bring the issues on the table, but the context you put it in should be the context on how can we improve as a team. What do we need to do? Do we need to collect what's not working, talk to the manager, bring it up, rather than sort of become this gossiping at the water cooler, complaining type of team. You don't want to contribute to that. That's not
No,
resolving any issues. That's just, taking a back seat. And it's always easy to observe and then point the finger. I mean, everyone can do that. That's the easiest thing. But I think, yeah, there are methods in helping to improve. And as you said, it has to come from the top. And if it's not fostered from the top, and I've seen it with some of my clients when they worked for a beautiful company, I've been there, I've worked with them, then they were bought or sold the company and it merged with a different company, a different culture. And I had one recent case, and their new CEO did not want to look at people performance and in process improvement and communication. They just said, well, they have to sort it out, and wasn't open himself to work on that and see what can be done from the top. And within a month, the first high performing employee, and I know them, I would have hired that person if I was a hiring manager. I would have hired that person straight away, left, the next one left, and then my client left. And she's trying to influence. And then, that's the limitation. You can influence, but sometimes the effect is not there. And then people
So
take
let's pick this up on this
decisions.
issue of people have gone in there. Their culture's changed because the leader changed, and I can't emphasize enough how responsible the leader in the workplace is for the culture.
Yeah.
It's a simple, and you see this in schools, everything from schools. Principals make the difference in between school that's functioning and school that's not functioning properly, right the way through into the workplace, etc. These people, the people who choose to disengage, they again tend to be the top performers. And it's okay, because let's talk about their ethics in doing that. If they were to stay, you could argue they could potentially at some stage make a difference. But why should they? In reality, they're responsible for their own well-being. And it's okay to say, well, look, I've got a better offer. Frankly, if what you have to sell is your skill and your labor, and you undersell that, well, then there's an argument. It's the smartest tool in the shed. We are obliged to go and get the best deal we can, and that includes working conditions. And that's another point about engagement. You want to drive your payroll costs down, get your staff engaged.
That's right. And also, if you are in a situation where you find your work environment is out of balance, it's not engaging, it's maybe, even dysfunctional to some degree, and you can't see, you've tried, you've talked to your manager, maybe even above, and you cannot change this. It is also the responsibility that you then have towards yourself, that you say, okay, this is not a healthy place for me to stay. And it does have impacts. And I also had those clients who were health-wise impacted by working in such an environment. And
Well, it's the first stage of burnout, Jack.
burnout.
That scenario where you might be overworked, have little control over what's going on in the business, but you're not being heard, but you feel like you can't get out of there. And that's a very, very serious condition. We start talking about burnout from an individual's point of view. That could cost you millions of dollars. I know.
Oh,
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that. And it cost me the peak of my career, if you want. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So staying in a situation where it's a toxic environment, and you can't change the game you're playing, and you're not happy in that game, that is a very serious mistake.
And yes, it is. And I've seen it a lot when I was working in the corporate world. And I've mentioned, the company before. I worked for Schneider Electric, which is a really good company overall, a really good company to work for. Hence, I can, name them, because I'm still following the previous CEO, who was almost 2 decades the CEO. He was just amazing. He's now the chairman of the company. And at some stage, because it's a global company, a French company, but they're globally distributed, and the leaders were, traveling a lot. We had conference calls at all sorts of time, maybe at 10 o'clock at night, just because of the time zone difference. And at some point, the company, not the company, I would say the leadership of the company, has realized we're burning our people. were burning our people out, and they went through this campaign where they worked with all the leaders of the different countries and departments and would put some healthy working boundaries in place. And I thought, well, that is amazing. Who does that? And it actually worked. And they kind of, to put it in a nutshell, there was a lot to it, but they also said, you have to set your boundaries. You cannot, be available at 10 o'clock at night all the time. Maybe one day a week, make it, give it certain healthy boundaries. We have to work these times, but not 7 days a week. You do not have to be available like this 7 days a week. And I thought this was amazing. It really shifted some of the burden and the pressure. It was really cool.
Oh, that is such a good story of leadership.
It is, absolutely. Hence, I'm so,
Yeah,
positively
I'm a fan of
impacted.
Schneider. They did the lifts, don't they? Schneider Electric.
Sorry?
I seem to have a memory of seeing Schneider Electric on a lift at some point in time.
Oh yeah, you see them everywhere.
Okay.
They started off as a hardware company, and then now they've also included software, and they're sort of in the energy manufacturing industries, very very big. And I came to work with Schneider through software development. So I worked in software development. And
I mean, sorry.
Yeah, and this also entails, a huge cultural shift, because I came from a very good Australian mid-sized software development company who at some stage had in their with their software, which was in manufacturing, covered 85% of the Australian market.
Right.
And we were a very flexible, fast, cool, the cool, but really intelligent people working on this. They knew what they were doing. They were fast. We had the processes, but we weren't over-processed. And then Schneider Electric came along, and initially that was a friction. It took a while, but but we went through an integration process. And the leadership of Schneider said, we bought you because of your skills. We want your skills. And until we got that, I thought, oh, see, that's why they bought us.
So that means they wanted you to continue in that culture that you had.
They said, help us to transfer some of the culture across. And we're like, oh my God, we're suffocating. But then, we found a really good middle way. As I said, I can only talk fairly positive about Schneider Electric.
So that shows this willingness to listen, the vulnerability coming from the top. Help us connect with you.
And I'm like, wow, I get this now. But also it needed to contribute from us, because one of the senior vice president of Schneider Electric told me one day, he said, we know you're fast. We know you can do the software so much better and faster than us. This is why we, got you. But you can do greater things with us. And I thought, oh my God.
That's right, because Schneider give you reputation and organizational advantages that you wouldn't have as a small Australian software company. They can take you places that you couldn't even dream of.
Exactly. And they can do this very fast. But we were used to process, to go very fast. We weren't used to this overhead collaboration with different countries, different leaders involved, different teams involved, until we got this. And we realized, okay, it is slower in sort of micro view, it's slower, but in a macro view, we can do more.
Yes, and this is something that, without sidetracking our conversation too far, we've both been in international business, and it is a wake-up call that the world does literally work 24/7. You can work 24/7 internationally, answering emails and whatnot, and urgent calls. And I particularly became aware of this because a lot of our business was with Islamic countries. So they have Thursday, Friday. and the Judeo-Christian countries have Saturday, Sunday. So you can actually work through Thursday, Friday in your Judeo-Christian countries and then turn to the Islamic countries on the weekend.
Actually, we did something similar. Yeah, just
And
because of the time shift, you can say you do this overnight, like for us overnight, you do this. And then we grab it in the morning and we continue on that side and we bounce it back over.
Do you know this is why every smart company in Australia has lawyers in Los Angeles? Because it's the only way you can get things done yesterday.
No, I didn't know that. I mean,
it's true about the time. I'm not sure about the smart companies, but but there you can get things done yesterday. But this is interesting. And obviously, when you're dealing with a multicultural, multinational company, keeping engagement is hugely difficult because they're a monolith. Certainly, Schneider were.
Yeah.
The company I was working with, they were the world's largest paperboard trader. So they were a big company too, multi-billion-dollar turnover. And they are not going to change their ways unless it comes from the top, which is why I so admire what Schneider did and said, hang on, we're burning out our employees. Let's put some ethics and knowledge around this, and we keep our employees there, and we have a better chance of keeping them engaged. And I think also companies need to understand that the chances of them retaining ad infinitum their employees is very, very small. People are there for a season and a reason. And if you can engage with that human in terms of their journey and support them in their journey through your company to the next company, then they will give you their best. But if you don't know them and they still have those plans, there's this game. I'll give you what I can, but I'm not going to trust you fully with my plans. So you want to get that trust you fully with the plans. I want to be this person. I want to be a general manager. There could only be one general manager, right? So if there are 4 people, 3 of them are going to leave if they all want to be general managers, because when the one retires, there'll only be one appointee. The others immediately leave. So you might as well deal with that. Deal with the fact that humans are looking for a future. Understand what your employees, especially your key employees, want. Where are they going? What's their journey? And if they haven't got it figured, help them figure it out. Because somebody that's coming to work to achieve their own outcomes in life is far more engaged than someone that's coming to do a job. So know what's important to those employees. So somebody come to me now and said, what's the most important thing for you now, John? Well, obviously there's my interests in the virtues of Entreya, but also the truth of the matter is I'm looking to retire. I'm wanting to earn money and be able to be purposeful and useful into my older years. So if you understand that, you're likely to be able to engage me. You're likely to be able to get into getting me to use all my skills to help you.
And very well said. It's kind of like almost, I can't top that.
But it's not that hard to actually do, really. When you're talking to an employee, you just show you care, show your actions and words, but actions show that you care. We talked about management by walking around, have the chats with employees. And if you are an employee, then being courageous enough to speak your truth is the first step in becoming a leader. And leaders will see that. Real leaders will see that, hello, this person's actually just stood there and told me the truth, even if I might not like it.
That's right. And I remember when managers gave me feedback, which, I might not, it was a little bit, I do that. But the thing is, they took the courage to explain something to me that maybe was not that comfortable, but it helped me to become a better manager. And I do remember those in a positive way, because they spoke up. A lot of people don't do that. And also, I just want to pick up on this when you said there were, if you have 4 people who want to become the general manager, it's like 4 people, that's a lot. But anyway, if you have a couple of people going for the same role and they want that role, it also, and only one can have it, it also pays out to ask them why they want the role. Because when you understand why they want the role, maybe you have something that is not that particular role, but it fulfills what they want. Sometimes people think, oh, I want this role because of whatever the role seemingly offers. So if you then find out from them, what is it that you want? You may be able to give them something that that is not that role, because someone else is maybe more suited, but it helps them on their way, or it is something that they do want.
Yeah, it contributes back to them, and you keep the
Yeah.
talent in the family, which is really useful. The other thing I've seen about that is know your partners, your business partners. So as a business leader, know your customers, know what their needs are, know your suppliers. And I've even done this. I actually got to the stage at one point where I was lending my employees to my suppliers and customers on the basis they go and work there for a couple of weeks just to understand their business better, so that we could serve them better, or that our our suppliers could serve us better. It was building that relationship. And then, of course, there's opportunities outside of your organization that may pop up, and you've got a friendly that knows your business, and you're building these relationships. And there's so much more benefit to be had by everybody from cooperation than competition.
We can talk on this topic for hours, because as we're talking about it, I realize, well, everything comes back to engagement, and you also create your own engagement, and you assess, you assess the situation. And you don't, instantly run away because someone is not quite aligned with your views or something. But if it comes to the point where you realize you can't really change or shift that company, it's too dysfunctional, then you've got to make that choice for yourself to find a place that's better aligned with your values.
And I think it was Plato or Aristotle who said, first know thyself. Now, this is where the power of the being profile comes in. And a lot of the things we've been talking about here, when we talk about vulnerability, care, authenticity, awareness of the situation, responsibility, partners, even partnership, communication, these are ways of being, of how you are turning up, that are now finally measurable. You can do this through the being profile and understand a little bit more about yourself. So before you, like, let me tell you that people, that accountability is something you try on for yourself first. You make yourself accountable, and then you can ask other people to be accountable. But until you've tried it on yourself and actually made yourself accountable, wouldn't be trying it with other people. So, when you start talking about self-knowledge, the being profile is an incredibly powerful tool to do this with, because you get a picture of how other people see you.
That's right. It is such a sort of distinct assessment that shows you areas of where you are ineffective, or areas in your deeper human qualities that have the impact of leading you to inefficiencies. And it's like a mirror. You're holding a mirror into your face, and you look at where can I improve? And we all have some of the blind spots. And where will, if you at any time interested in these assessments, you can connect with us. And we also have the links below, and you can read about the assessment. We have the Engenesis link below as well. It's a really good tool too. It's like a little blood test. It just shows you where you have an unhealthy relationship with certain ways of being, where maybe you're not so authentic as you think you are. or you're not as responsible as you think you are, and then you can shift these areas.
And if you are a leader, we can then take that up into groups of 12, up maximum 12, where we can look at a group and say, how is this group turning up?
Yeah.
What does their group image look like? And then we can substitute people in and out. So if you've got a team that's functioning very well and you want to keep it functioning at that level, then there's a way of measuring that. There's a way of measuring that, and then and seeing which of the applicants would fit best into that team to produce higher effectiveness. Now, the key thing about understanding the being profile is it's all about personal effectiveness and leadership. The ways of being that are in there have been selected specifically to help an individual become more effective and better at leadership. So leadership and effectiveness is what this is all about. Jack and I are both qualified practitioners, and I think it's active internationally, from governments, private sector. There's hundreds of practitioners, but we were amongst the very first.
Yeah,
aren't we lucky?
yeah, we are. And
so we've been in a long way, but I can't help but think how important it is to do this. And there's companies out there that have adopted this as the whole ethos of their company. Yeah. They're now going to the point where they're open book. In other words, they're telling their employees what they're spending and how much money they're making and what the go is there. They've developed trust to that level where they're actually prepared to open their books to their employees. And so that's the level of trust that you really want to have.
And that hugely increases in engagement and is developing a really healthy, prosperous team culture where people actually want to come to work. Basically, they come in on a Monday morning and they run in the door because they actually want to come to work.
And think about how important
they want to come to work.
Think how important that is in terms of staff retention and attraction. So people you're looking for staff, and you say, well, go talk to my staff. Yeah, go talk to them. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're all going, this is an amazing place to work. So long as they've got their needs met, you're going to find your payroll goes down. And the reason, certainly relative to productivity, it will, but in real terms as well. I can't remember the scholar at the time, but there's papers around that show that people only ask for more money when there's something else wrong. Right? There's something else they're not committed to you, but it's not their fault. It's not blaming, but it might be, well, if I'm going to have to be here, then best you pay me for it. And I will put up with it for a period of time before it becomes unbearable, and then I'll ask you for more money or I'll leave.
Yeah.
But this idea of using the being profile to understand your organization starts with the leader, but if an individual human wants to do this, then this gives you a basis on which you then can look at more transferable skills. What is it that you need to do to get that new job that gets you out of that place that you're in right now, that's not comfortable, that you're not getting the support and feedback that you need? So I thoroughly recommend you get in touch on that one. And for groups, it's a wonderful tool for engagement. At the very least, it shows employees that the boss cares, is prepared to go down this road.
And you can develop a team profile and see how the overall team culture is. And people love it. I mean, I know it sounds a little bit cryptic. We can't really go into the details of it, and we just sort of.
Well, it's a big thing.
But it is like, it is. We compare it a lot to some, a blood test. When you go to the doctor, you don't know quite what's wrong with you, and then they kind of look into your internal workings, and they might find a couple of areas where there is an unhealthy balance of some, some health markers that should be in a certain way, and that's what the profile is about. It shows health markers.
So just like a blood test, it's a way of seeing the unseen.
That's right, seeing the unseen. Beautifully said.
So when you
I should
When you
take.
do that and you can see it, then you can work on it.
Yeah.
Once you know something, you can name it and you can change it. But
Yeah.
whilst you're not aware of it, then it carries on causing mayhem in your life, and you will call it fate.
Mm.
So engagement, get a hold of us. Happy to talk to you. Happy to work with you. Give you the being profile. Not give. Maybe we will, but at the end of the day, because that can happen, we're happy to work with organisations. But what we really do is want to get into a discussion with you.
Yeah.
It's individuals and it's a
Tell us
group,
what
and
you think.
and that's right. And if you want to give us ideas, or you want us to discuss anything or look at any particular situation, then let us know.
Yeah.
But all the details are below. Subscribe to the channel, etc., etc. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
See you next time.